Hey guys, John coming to you from Evolve Custom Rod Shops, showing you how I put these labels on. Now I put them on both sides of the rod, so the first thing I'm going to do is measure the distance between the two grips. And then on the back side of the rod where the customer will be holding it, that's where I'm going to make my marks. And I'll center everything to that. So it's 5 inches, so I'll go 2.5 right here. Okay, that's my center line. I know these labels are 3 inches because in the program, the professional labeler by Epson, I set them up at 3 inches. I'll go more into detail on the labeler probably in another video. So now I got my center line marked. I know where the ends of my labels are going to be. This is really important for the rest of it. Next thing you want to do, which is very important, is you want to prep the blank before you put the labels on. This involves just taking some rubbing alcohol and wiping everything down. Make sure you don't wipe down your marks you just put on the rod blank. Also, after you put the labels on, make sure you wipe off the marks. You don't want those marks in the final product. Okay, we're all cleaned up. I'm going to speed this up. You know, centering a label is very interesting. It's very hard. These labels are cut in the middle, so what I'll do is I'll center it on the top. Once I have it centered and what looks to be square, I'll roll it down with my finger. My hands were very clean at this point. You can use gloves if you want to. Now on the opposite side of the rod, I'm putting a different label. This also, I go about the same process. Now that way when you look at the right side of the rod, the letters are pointed to the bottom side, and if you look at the left side of the rod, the letters are pointed to the bottom side of the rod. Once I get done with this, I want to wrap everything with a sacrificial thread. Don't use anything you don't have a lot of, because you're going to be throwing away this thread. You're going to start a wrap. If you don't know how to start a wrap, I got plenty of videos on that. You can watch the video right here. That'll show you how to do that. I am going to cut my tag end here. This is kind of important because you don't want that tag end laying against the label, because it can leave a groove in the label as this wound thread holds it tight. Once I wrap the entire thing with thread, I will get my pull through, get it nice and tight, cover both ends of the label. This is very important. Okay, make sure there are no gaps in your threads, make sure everything's good. Gaps can cause creases in the label itself, so make sure your wrap's really tight. Now this tag end you don't necessarily have to cut off. That's totally up to you. It's not really necessary. Again, this is sacrificial thread. You're pulling it through. It's not going to be laying against the label. That's pretty much it. Now, I did do a label up front here in the front part of the rod. That's a little bit different. Basically, what I did here was I put the label on, wrapped it. This is the Firefighter Iron Cross. So you can actually see the raised label underneath the thread. That's how you know you got a good tight wrap. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the wrap off. I'm going to use my fingers and pull the tag end out. Once I have the tag end out of the wrap, I'll pull the belt off the lathe. If you're hand wrapping, this is even easier, but I'll just pull the thread off until I got it all off. And again, this sacrificial thread, so I'm throwing it away. Now you can see the labels looks good. Everything's nice and tight. I'm cleaning up the China markers I had there, and now I'm putting my trim bands on. Sometimes you put trim bands on, sometimes you don't. That's personal preference. Some of my rods I don't put the trim bands on, and that's just because it don't think it needs it. So this I'm doing black with a gold middle and then another black behind it. I'll make sure I do a trim band video because there's lots of options there. There are lots of videos on how to do a trim band on YouTube, so don't underestimate the search. Trim band done. The black and gold against the red blank just looks phenomenal. Do my other trim band on the other side. Same process. If you notice, I use my finger a lot for packing the thread. This works very well and keeps everything in line once I have it where I want it. And I'm not taking exact measurements. I just look at the thread. If it looks right and looks even, it's going to look right to the customer. You can be real meticulous about it and measure everything, and that's perfectly fine as well. All finished up. Now we're going to work on the front one. I'm basically pulling the sacrificial thread out. This one's a little tougher. As you can see here, I end up cutting the tag end to help ease it out because I don't want to mess up the cross wrap thread. And once I got it out, again, I'll pull the belt and just pull this right off. There are lots of techniques for putting on labels, but this works for me. This is my technique. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little trim band. I probably should have done this beforehand, but the thing is I didn't decide to do it till after I was done. I said this needs a little bit more color. I'm going to put a black trim band on the gold up here with the hook keeper. And I think it really came together when I did that. So I'm just using the end of a paintbrush stick, doing the very simple method of trim band. Pull it out, put it in place, snug it up, and cut my tag ends once it's tight. And I think that really adds another dimension to the trim band here. Looks really good with the iron cross there. This is what it looks like finished with epoxy. Really looks awesome. It's a gold label on clear. Here is the iron cross. Guys, please like and subscribe. Hope this video was helpful.